Is this Joe Clinton's spread?
We're not hiring.
I'm not looking for work. I'm looking for Joe Clinton.
Yeah, Joe know you?
No, but he'll know the name. It's Bud Tatum. Grant Tatum's boy.
Well, I'm Sam Thaw, Joe's partner. Anything I can do for you?
No, this is between him and me. You just tell me where I can find him.
I'm afraid I can't do that right now. He's not here. He's up in the hills checking the stock.
Well, when he comes back, you tell him I'll be in Cimarron City waiting for him.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Who was that?
Nobody?
Who was it, Sam?
It was Grant Tatum's boy, Mary. Bud Tatum.
Oh? Well, why didn't he stay? Where'd he go?
He's gonna wait for Joe in town.
Don't suppose he found out.
I didn't ask him. But if I were Joe, I'd start wearing a gun. That kid's out for blood.
Cimarron City, a peaceful town, a grown town. Never saw a town suited me better. And I guess I suited the town or they wouldn't have appointed me mayor. My name is Matt Rockford. I grew up in Cimarron and I know everyone in it. Or I thought I did. But I was to learn that you could be neighbors with people for years and never really know them at all. Hello, Lane.
Well, howdy, Matt.
Hi, Art. Hear those cattle brand records you asked for?
Thanks, Matt.
Hey, who belongs to that little calico pony out there? Don't remember seeing it before.
Well, a young cowboy rode in early this morning asking for Joe Clinton. Then he left. I guess he's back now. How's everything at the ranch, Matt?
I can't complain.
Good. I'm glad.
Hold it, you!
You can get the horses.
Joe Clinton. He's dead.
It's murder. Joe never wore a gun.
Maybe the kid didn't know that, Art.
He was looking for him, wasn't he?
Cal, will you take care of him?
Sure.
See that Mary gets word of it.
Yeah. Better get him over to the store. You gonna tell Mary?
Well, I guess I may as well be the one.
Looks like we lost him. Why don't we cut back a ways and see if we can pick up his trail?
Matt, you should be in town before Mary gets there. See if you can give her a hand. We'll go on up and check the river crossing, and then we'll come on in.
Okay, Art.
Why, Sam? Why? It's all my fault. It's all my fault.
Any luck? Did you find the kid?
No, Lane and Art are still out there trying to pick up his trail, but I don't think there's much of a chance. Sorry about what happened, Mary. If there's anything I could do for you, you'll let me know, won't you?
I knew it was trouble the minute that kid came around to the ranch today asking for Joe.
He was out at the ranch?
Yeah, I didn't like the way he talked. So we tried to keep Joe clear of him, at least to go armed, but, you know, that's the last thing in the world Joe would ever do, wear a gun.
Any idea who the kid was?
No.
Never saw him before. Well, I'm gonna get Mary back home. This has been quite a shock. Good night, Matt.
Good night, Mary. Sam?
Hello, Shanny.
Mary, it's terrible about Joe. I knowed him a long time, and I knowed you, too. You've always been mighty good to me. Joe and me had our differences. I never want him dead. I never want that.
All right, Shandy, don't bother Mary at a time like this.
Oh, wait a minute. Who's got a better right to talk about Joe Clinton than me? I knowed him most of his life. Punched cattle on the Chisholm Trail together.
All right, Shanny. We all know that.
I'm sorry. Sorry I bothered you, Mary.
It's all right, Shanny.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Mary. Sam?
Joe was the finest man I ever knew. The finest man I ever knew. It's a terrible thing.
Shanny, in all the years you knew Joe, did you ever know him to wear a gun?
Never. Never once. He never owned one. He was a get him. He didn't want to have around. He's the best fellow I'd ever had. I never wanted this to happen to him. Have a drink with you?
Later, Shanny.
Hold it. You Matt Rockford?
Yeah, that's me.
I want to talk to you.
Then put away your gun. Looks like you need fixing, boy. Let's go inside. There you are. That ought to do it. Just why'd you come here?
I had no place else to go. Mr. Knight always spoke high of you.
Mr. Knight? Fred Knight?
Yeah.
Do you know him?
Oh, yeah, he's my boss. I rode for him since I was knee-high.
What's your name?
Bud Tatum.
Just what did you think I could do for you?
Just give me a horse, that's all. I rode that Calico out. If you can give me a horse, I can get back to camp.
You ride into town and shoot a man. Then you come out here and ask me to help you escape, just because you happen to work for a friend of mine. That doesn't make much sense. Now let's just start all over again. Why did you kill him?
He shot me.
You're gonna have to do better than that, boy. This man never carried a gun in his life.
Well, he carried one tonight. How do you think I got this?
Just what did you have against Joe Clinton?
Was that Joe Clinton?
Now, don't tell me you didn't know that. Most of the people in town knew you were looking for him.
Sure, but I'd never seen him before. Just wrote to him once.
You wrote to him? What about?
Well, that's kind of a personal matter about my dad. I thought Clinton might have known him. But even when he called my name, I had no idea who it was. Just somebody took a shot at me, so I shot back.
Why'd you run?
Well, what do you expect me to do? They'd have got their hands on me, they'd have strung me up.
Cimarron's not that kind of town.
You're going to give me a horse, ain't you?
No. I want you to ride into town with me to the sheriff. Get this whole thing straightened out.
No.
Look, if your story is straight, you've got nothing to worry about. You'll have a fair trial.
Who are you kidding? I knew I shouldn't have come here.
Fred Knight said I could be trusted, didn't he? Well, then why don't you trust me? I say you'll have a fair trial, and you will. You've got my word on it.
All right. I'll hold you to it.
Fine. Let's get on into town.
Matt Rockford just rode in and he's got that killer with him.
Are you sure?
Of course I am. I knew Matt'd get him.
That's one dirty skunk I want to get my hands on.
Oh, wait a minute, Marshal. Don't you try anything. The law will take care of him.
There he is. That's him. That's him, all right. I seen him. Hold it. You men get back where you were. What do you got to say for yourself before we string you up?
I said get back, Martin.
You may be a big man in this town, Rockford, but you ain't the law.
I told you this would happen if you brought me back here.
We want to talk to you.
What's going on out here? Get him inside.
He caused it.
Hold it now. Hold on. Hold. Everybody go on about your business. Don't get any more foolish ideas about the prisoner.
Hey, that's all right, Sheriff. We know he'll get what's coming to him.
That's right. Don't worry, kid. They won't get out of hand. We never have had a lynching in this town. We're not going to start now.
Where'd you find him, Matt?
Came to me, Art. Here's his gun. The kid claims that Joe took a shot at him.
That's the truth. I was untying my horse, and I heard somebody call my name. Before I could turn around, he shot me. All I did was shoot back.
That's right. There were 2 shots, Art.
But he fired the first shot. And he hit me, too. Look here.
What are you trying to pull?
I hit you when you made your getaway.
Why, no, sir, you didn't. Your shot missed. Joe Clinton's bullet did this. Don't none of you believe me. He hollered, you Bud Tatum, and then he shot me.
Reloaded it, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's too bad. Nothing here to back up your yarn, except your word against the fact that no gun was found anywhere near Joe Clinton's body, and everyone knows he never carried one.
He had a gun. I saw it in his hand.
What kind of a gun?
I don't know. I couldn't see it that good. I just caught a gleam of it.
You're lying and you know it. Lock him up, Lane.
All right, kid. Empty your pockets on the desk.
You remember what you promised me. It's the only reason I'm here.
All right, give me the keys.
How did he happen to come to you, Matt?
Works for a friend of mine who has a big ranch down in the Panhandle.
Pretty handy with their guns down that way.
I know what you're thinking, Art. I've known Fred Knight a long time. I've never known him to hire a gunslinger.
Well, I hope you're right, Matt. He's awful young to swing.
All right. I hear you brought him in, Matt. Give you any trouble?
No, he gave himself up, Cal.
Any objection if I talk to him for a few minutes? Get a story for the paper.
Go ahead.
Hold on, Cal. Don't you think he ought to see a lawyer first?
But who? Old Mike Walker's up at Tulsa, and I doubt if you can get Ed Brader to take this case.
Yeah, why not?
Because he'll never get another one in this town if he does.
He'll take it if Judge Platt tells him to.
Well, then you better see the judge first.
I aim to.
Now look here, Judge. We're old friends.
I didn't come here as a friend, Ed. I came as a judge.
He's a Texas gunslinger.
The kid said he shot in self-defense, and I'm inclined to believe him.
Well, I don't.
Now, what kind of a defense could I give the boy when I feel that way?
If there's going to be any trial at all, it'll be held in front of a jury, not here.
I'm sorry, Judge.
All right, Ed. I know. Whether you believe he's guilty or not guilty or whatever it is, first of all, you're a lawyer. Bud Tatum has a right to a fair trial, the same as any other man. The court appoints you his defense attorney.
I'm sorry, I can't do it.
Do you want to be held in contempt, Ed?
Now, wait a minute, Judge. You've got to understand me. Besides being Joe Clinton's friend, I was his attorney. Years. I handled all his legal business. No court in the country would make me defend his murderer.
Use your head, Brader. The kid could have gotten away. All he had to do was ride that calico pony of his till it dropped dead. But he couldn't even kill a horse. Do you believe that he'd murder a man?
Matt, you'll have to have a better argument than that to convince a jury.
Are you saying when I talked him into riding in with me that I put a rope around his neck?
I'm sorry, Matt. That's about the size of it.
Mary, I always liked Joe. You believe that, don't you?
Of course. You've been a good friend to both of us.
Yeah. That's why it's going to be kind of hard to ask these questions.
That's all right, Matt. Sit down.
Thanks.
Go ahead. Ask your questions.
The kid insists that Joe had a gun, that he fired the first shot.
But that couldn't be true, Matt. Look, I don't want to help condemn any woman's son to death, but I knew Joe Clinton as only a wife can know her husband. And Joe would never kill.
Then why did he go into town when he knew the kid was looking for him?
Because he had chores to do there anyway. Things to buy, a new hinge for the barn door, things like that. If only he'd listened to me. I begged him to take a gun along.
You begged him? Why?
Because I was afraid something terrible would happen.
Did Joe ever mention a man by the name of Grant Tatum?
For heaven's sake, Matt, what are you trying to do? Can't you see you're just upsetting Mary?
Sorry, Sam, but I'm just trying to get to the bottom of this shooting. Well, just give me one good reason why Bud Tatum would want to kill Joe Clinton, and I'll get out of here.
All right, Matt, I'll give you a reason. Joe Clinton shot Bud Tatum's father.
Sam, you shouldn't have told that.
I'm sorry, Mary, but now maybe he'll get out of here and leave you in peace.
Is that the truth?
It was an accident, Matt.
Yeah, it happened years ago, back in Kansas. Joe was up in the hotel room, cleaning a gun. It went off accidentally. It's as simple as that. Now, you satisfied?
Yeah. Answers a lot of questions. Sorry, Mary. Goodbye.
Like I said, all I remember about my dad was he'd been a cattle drover. And one year when I was just little, he and another fellow took a herd up to Kansas, and they never came back. I never had any word about what happened to either of them. And that's all I ever knew, except this other fellow's name was Clinton.
When did you find out he was up here?
An old-timer came to the ranch a few months back on some business with Mr. Knight. And he said he remembered my dad. And he remembered Clinton. And he told me that Clinton had a ranch around near Cimarron City.
So you wrote to him here. What did he write back?
Oh, he didn't. But somebody else did, though.
Yeah? Who?
I don't know. It wasn't signed. It wasn't much more than a scrawl. But it said that Clinton had killed my dad. I just wanted to face him with this and see what he had to say about it.
What if he said it was true? What then?
I don't know. I never really thought that far.
Have you got this letter with you?
No, not on me. It's in my bedroll at Mr. Knight's trail camp. You believe me?
I'm trying to, boy. I'm trying real hard.
Any luck?
No, nothing that ties together.
Well, it really gives me the creeps, that kid sitting in there waiting to be hanged. Suppose it was me. A stranger in a strange town.
Sure wish I could figure out who was telling the truth. The kid swears Joe had a gun. Mary says he didn't.
Well, maybe Joe picked up a gun on his way to town without Mary knowing about it.
It could be, but where'd he get rid of it?
That beats me.
When we saw Joe, he fell up against that trough and fell to the ground. Sure.
So much stuff from the bottom, a gun could lay there from now to doomsday without anybody noticing it.
Hey, I found something.
It's a hinge.
Hey, let me see that. This hasn't been in the water very long.
So what of it?
Mary said that Joe came into town that day to pick up a hinge for his barn door.
What does that prove?
Proves the kid did see something in Joe's hand. This could have looked like a gun.
I mean, Joe Clinton fired a shot with a hinge.
It is ridiculous, all right. There's an answer here somewhere, Lane.
Hey, miss, how about buying a drink for a poor old man? Oh, Matt. No, I guess you wouldn't.
Well, I might, Shanny.
You're right, Matt. Better to leave it alone. Let it get the upper hand of you. Thanks, Matt.
Come on over here, Shanny. I'd like to talk to you.
Sure, why not?
I said talk, Shanny. Sit down. Went out to Mary's this morning.
How's she taking?
Not bad, considering.
Well, she's a good woman. I've known her a long time.
How long, Shanny? Before she married Joe?
Oh, sure. I knew her in Kansas. I was one of Joe's riders. Helped him and Grant Tatum drive their cattle.
So you knew Tatum too, huh? What kind of a man was he?
Him? He was a regular rascallion.
Don't tell me Joe was like that too.
Joe? Never. Joe was scared of women. I knew the minute he saw Mary, he was gone goose.
Well, what do you know?
She only had eyes for Grant.
How come Joe married her then? How come she married Joe?
That was after Grant was shot. A real sad accident.
Just how did it happen?
Joe was cleaning this gun, went off. Bang. I was right there in the hotel room with him that night.
Shanny, would you say there was any chance at all that it might not have been an accident? You said yourself that Joe was in love with Tatum's girl.
Never said that. Don't you put words in my mouth.
Look, Shanny, I don't like to say it either, but there's something about all this that bothers me. You said that Joe never liked guns. He never wore them. Well, then what was he doing cleaning one that night?
What were you trying to get out of me?
It's just the truth, Shanty.
You leave me alone. I ain't got nothing more to say to you. Might have known you was up to something, buying me them drinks, trying to get me off my guard. Putting me full of questions, trying to get me to say something and get myself into trouble. Well, I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it for you or any other man.
Hello, Matt. What are you doing to poor old Shanty? Refuse to buy him a drink?
How about I'd like to buy you one, Sam?
All right, fine. Pat, don't mind if I do.
Sam, did you ever hear anything about Mary being Grant Tatum's girl?
What?
Back there in Kansas.
Why, no, I'd never heard it. And what's more, I don't believe it. Matt, is that what Shanty's been telling you? Why, you know better than to believe anything that whiskey-soaked old drunk can tell you.
Gotta start believing somebody, Sam.
What's the matter? Not eating this morning?
Not hungry.
I'm gonna have to take it back then. Gotta get cleaned up for the funeral.
Say, Lane. What kind of a man was he?
Joe Clinton, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I'd say you picked the wrong man if you had to shoot somebody.
I didn't pick anybody. Just trying to find out about my dad.
Well, I'd better get going. I'll see you later.
Wait. Tell her I'm sorry, would you?
Tell who?
His widow. Tell her I'm sorry and I didn't mean to kill him.
Sure.
Dust to dust, in sure and certain hope of the resurrection unto the eternal life. To thy hands, Lord, we commend our brother's spirit. Amen.
Sorry, Joe. True that. Never would have done it if I known it would go to end like this between us. You believe that, don't you, Joe?
Couldn't you have stayed sober just this once?
Sure, I just took a couple of drinks for Joe. He understood. Joe always understood. Never let his old friend Shanty starve to death. He even wrote me in his will.
Well, I can't show you the will. It hasn't been probated yet. There's nothing unusual in it. All Joe's property, his share of the ranch, his bank account, all goes to his widow in its entirety. Now, nobody stood to profit by his death in any way.
What about Shanty? He said that Joe made some kind of arrangements for him.
Oh, well, that had nothing to do with the will. Here. Now, that's a quitclaim deed to Shanty's share of the ranch, made back to Joe Clinton in return for a guaranteed annuity of $20 a month for the rest of Shanty's life.
How did Shanty get a part of Joe's ranch in the first place?
He had that ever since they came here from Kansas. Must amount to quite a bit of money by now. A few months ago, the old man ran out of drinking money, came in here and offered to sell me his share of the place. I didn't take it, of course, but I thought I'd better let Joe know what was going on.
And that's why he got fired.
Well, can you blame Joe? He's put up with an awful lot from that old sot through the years. Joe brought him in here, arranged to pay off all his debts, made him sign that quitclaim in return for the annuity. Sam Thaw and I witnessed it.
Does Mary know about this?
Well, I suppose so. I can't say for sure, but Joe and Mary never had any secrets between them.
I'm beginning to wonder. Ed, would you mind if I took this along? I'll take good care of it. I'd like to show Mary.
Oh, I know I can trust you. Sure, Matt.
Thanks.
Oh, Matt, hello. Come in.
Hello, Mary. Hey. Where are you off to?
Don't know yet. But I don't want to stay here.
It's a good idea. Take a trip, and when you get back here, you'll...
Well, I'm not coming back here, Matt. I'm leaving for good.
Folks around here are going to be awful sorry you're leaving, Mary.
Thank you, Matt.
Is it true that you were once in love with Grant Tatum?
How did you find out? Who told you?
Does it really matter?
You're right. Did this person, whoever it was, did he tell you the rest of it? Did he tell you that I was the one who actually killed Grant Tatum?
You? But you were in love with him.
Too much so. That September when he and Joe were coming back through again on the way to Texas, I went up to Grant's hotel room and I asked him when he intended to marry me. He just laughed and said he couldn't because he already had a wife and a son. First, I couldn't believe I was hearing him right. And the gun was there on the table, and he'd been cleaning it, and I picked it up. I don't know what I meant to do with it. And he grabbed my arm, and suddenly it...
Where was Joe while all this happened?
Well, he and Shanny ran into the room when they heard the shot, and they somehow got me out of there. And when the sheriff came, they both swore that it was Joe who had been cleaning the gun, and it had gone off accidentally.
It was an accident. I don't think anyone could have blamed you for it.
Thanks for saying so, Matt. But you know, even after that, even after we were married and came here to Cimarron, we still didn't believe that he'd left a family. Until we got that letter. There was his son asking about the father I'd taken from him. Well, naturally, we wanted to do something for the boy, to try to make it up to him before we could decide what was right. Joe was dead, and it was me that killed him, just as sure as if I'd pulled the trigger myself. That was my fault, too.
Mary, listen to me. Someone in this town wrote to Bud Tatum and told him about that old business in Kansas. Bud came up here primed to face a murderer.
What are you saying, Matt? Who could have written that to him? Who could have known?
You ever seen that before?
Well, yes. Joe showed it to me. What about it?
I call it blackmail. Now, Shanny committed perjury back there in Kansas. And this is the way Joe paid off. When Joe got tired and fired Shanny, Shanny got sore and wrote to Bud.
Oh, no, not Shanty, Matt. He loved Joe. Why, I just can't believe it.
Well, there's one way to find out.
Maybe he's around back.
Shanny, you in there?
Hey, Matt, over here.
Shanny? He's dead, Lane. Feels like he's been dead for hours.
Poor old guy. Probably got drunk and fell in the woodpile. I guess one of these would crack your skull if it hits you right.
Yeah, especially if somebody aimed it at your head. Early the next morning, I headed for Fred Knight's camp. The way I saw it, Shanty's death was no accident. And young Bud Tatum sure hadn't killed him. That left only one other possibility. Whoever did pour Shanty in Must be the guy who shot Joe Clinton and who wrote the note to the kid to come to Cimarron. I don't exactly know what I expected to find in that letter, but it was the only clue I had. Fred Knight's outfit?
Yep.
Where could I find him?
He's up there with the herd.
Thanks.
Here you are, Matt.
Thanks, Fred.
I still can't believe that youngster had it in him to gun a man down without us being fair. He spent mighty near his whole life in my ranch. And his mother, well, she was just as fine a woman as you ever met.
Did he tell you why he was going into Cimarron City?
No. No, he didn't. He always kept things pretty much to himself. Think you found something?
I think I did, Fred. I've got to head back into town and fast.
Matt, I still think I better call up the crew. Nobody's going to hang one of my boys without my doing something about it.
I wish you'd stay out of this, Fred. I think I can handle it better alone.
All right, but remember, if I find anything went wrong, we might just come into that town of yours and take it apart, and you know we can do it.
I didn't waste any time getting back on the trail to town. It looked like such an open and shut case, I was afraid the jury would call it a day before I got there. The only thing in our favor was that we in Cimarron City don't often get to see a full-blown murder trial. So when we do, it's quite an occasion. Some folks travel for 3-4 days to get there. I kind of hope the judge might stall just a little to give everybody a chance to make it into town.
Sure a lot of people in town.
They don't get to see you hanging every day. Hey, Lane. Have you seen Mr. Rockford?
No, he hasn't been around yet.
That just goes to show you don't ever trust anybody.
Now, wait a minute, fella. You're wrong. I don't know where Matt is or what he's doing. But there's one man I'd trust my life to.
That's what I did.
Court's in session. Let's go, boy.
Since the court was unable to procure legal representation for the defendant himself has the privilege of examining the witnesses and asking any questions which, in the opinion of the court, are in order and of a nature to aid him in establishing his case. The prosecution may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Mr. Thaw, when the defendant first came to the ranch that morning looking for Joe Clinton, what did he say to alarm you? Was he abusive? Did he make any threats?
No, nothing like that. It was, well, more what he didn't say. The tone of his voice and the fact that he wouldn't tell me what he wanted with Joe.
Do you remember any of the exact words he used?
Well, yes, I think so. I'd asked him if there was anything I could do. And he said, no, this is between Joe and me. Just tell me where to find him.
Thank you, Mr. Thaw. Prosecution rest, Your Honor. The defendant can cross-examine if he wants to.
Have you any questions to ask the witness? You can step down. The time has come to hear from the defense.
I got nothing to say.
Let me remind you that this is the one chance you have to speak for yourself. Otherwise, I must turn it over to the jury, and your side of the story will not be heard.
What's the good of my saying anything? You're not going to listen to me. You already know you're going to hang me.
And that's all you have to say?
Yeah.
Then there is nothing anybody else can do for you. I must turn this case over to the jury.
No. No, there's something I must say, please.
Certainly, Mrs. Clinton. If the matter has any bearing on the case.
I loved my husband. You all know that. And this boy killed him. But hanging him is not going to bring my husband back to me. It will only make his death harder to bear. I'm leaving Cimarron City. Don't give me another terrible memory to carry with me. Please, I'm begging you, don't let him die too.
What you must consider on the evidence is whether Howard Tatum performed an act of premeditated murder or shot in self-defense. You may now withdraw to consider your verdict.
Just a minute, Your Honor. I want to apologize for busting in like this. I'm no lawyer, but I've sort of got an interest in this case. So if it's permissible, I've got a few notions I'd like to offer in Bud Tatum's defense.
It's rather irregular, but this court is interested in justice. Now, you all know Matt Rockford. I'm willing to hear what he has to say if the defendant agrees and the prosecutor has no objection.
No objections here.
Are you willing for Matt Rockford to undertake your defense?
I never thought I'd see you again. Sure, anything he's got to say is all right with me.
Thanks, Bud. Your Honor, since we're being irregular, I'd like to go whole hog. I think it would help us all understand this shooting of Joe Clinton a lot better if we all took another look out there in the street where it happened. In other words, I'd like to ask the court to adjourn to the street.
Agreeable with you?
Anything within reason.
So ordered. Court stands adjourned to reconvene the place of Joe Clinton's death.
Now, if I get anything wrong, I'd sure appreciate if you set me straight. But the way I figure it, you were over there by that hitching rail and tying your horse, right?
That's right.
Sam, would you mind filling in for him?
Well, no, but why can't he do it himself?
Well, I don't think it would be proper under the circumstances, considering Bud here is a suspect.
Oh, well, all right.
Lane, you be Joe Clinton.
All right. I figured he was coming around this corner here.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
This about right?
Yeah, that ought to be all right, Sam. Now, I'm going to be the third man.
What are you talking about, Matt? There wasn't any third man.
I'm afraid there was, Art. There had to be. Because unlikely as it seems, everybody in this case was telling the truth. Bud Tatum here didn't lie. Somebody did take a shot at him. But it wasn't Joe Clinton, because Joe didn't carry a gun. So it must have been this third man. Someone who wanted Joe Clinton dead. As a matter of fact, he wanted it so bad that he wrote Bud Tatum a letter in Texas and told him things that he was sure would make Bud come up here gunning for Joe.
Are you talking about Shanny, Matt?
No, not Shanny, Lane. I'm talking about the man who afterwards murdered Shanny and fixed it to make it look like an accident. This man figured Shanny knew too much about him, especially about the time he spent a night in a hotel room in Kansas about 10 years ago, where he saw and heard certain things that made it possible for him to take blackmail from Joe Clinton all these years.
What are you driving at, Matt? How come nobody ever saw this third man?
Maybe they did, Sam, but they never suspected the part he played. Now, when Joe Clinton came into town that day to talk to Bud Tatum, that third man was already here. Now, I'm going to try to show you just what happened. Remember, Lane here is Joe Clinton.
I'm the third man, and Sam is Bud Tatum. Sam, you can just turn around there and look like you're untying that horse.
All right.
Ready, Lane?
I guess so.
You and I will be walking down here. Now, the way I figure it, folks, Joe Clinton and this third man were walking along here. This third man was just out of Bud Tatum's sight. You keep on walking. How about it, Sam? Is this where you shot the kid from? Why'd you do it, Sam?
Made a mistake, Matt. I fell for a woman who loved her husband. Matt, you sure saved us from making a sorry mistake, but how did you ever think of Sam?
Well, Art, at first I didn't. I thought it was Shannon. Till I started comparing this handwriting. See the way this T is crossed? Mm-hmm. Well, it's crossed exactly the same way in Sam's signature here. It's all in the world I had to go on. The rest of it was pure bluff.
Matt, someone out here wants to see you.
Hello, Matt.
Hello, Mary.
I didn't want to leave without telling you how grateful I am.
You haven't changed your mind about leaving Cimarron?
No, not about that. But one thing bothers me, though. I kind of hate to go off and leave the ranch there with no one to run it.
Yeah, that's right enough. Any ideas?
Bud, you know that ranch was bought in part with money that had been your father's, and by all rights it's yours. You got a claim to it. Now, tell me, how would you like to manage it?
Well, I don't know. I never managed a ranch before. What do you say, man?
If I were you, Bud, I'd get on that calico pony and ride out there as fast as you could ride.
Well, thank you, Mr. Clinton. I want you to know I'm sorry about everything.
I know. So am I.
Thank you, man.
Good luck, Bud.
Bye.
Bye.
Mary, this is your home. We sure hope you'll be coming back soon.
Maybe someday, Matt. Maybe someday. Bye.
Bye. It's like I said before. You can live for years next door to someone and think you know that person like you know yourself. And then wake up one morning and find out you never knew him at all.